What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. Welcome back. The reptilians are at it again. The government conspiracies are at it again. And everybody's fucking you up. So buckle up because you're about to get some truth bombs knocked down into you. So let's get started. Hopefully you guys are having a great day, taking care of yourselves, staying positive, staying truthful to yourselves. But the fact is that we have frequencies that are being bombarded on us, and we have the proof in the pudding. So let's bring it to you. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about reptilian frequencies that are causing fear, causing anxiety, causing stress amongst humans. And that's how they have the Trojan horse built in, because they are in cahoots with the U.S. government, as we've been told by multiple whistleblowers, generals, lieutenant colonels, that the 10-foot, 14, 16-foot tall reptilians are in cahoots with our government, and they are working hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, walking down deep underground military base tunnels, working on these frequencies. Because why? Because they feed on our fear, they feed on the energy, and that's how they stay alive. And we have sold our soul out to these reptilian beings, and that's why we're getting all this great technology, and that's why we can have people walking down the street and you wouldn't even be able to see them or recognize them. Because, why? Because they have the technology to transmogrify. They'll walk right past you like the woman in the red dress in the Matrix with Neo and Morpheus, and then you turn around and it's an agent, except instead of being an agent, it would be a reptilian, a 14-foot tall one that doesn't want anything to do with you except to rip the fear out of you. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about a couple videos that explain a few things. So number one, we have the fact that there have been studies, technology done, technology created to elicit certain responses from you, and then we're going to look at the increase in percentage of individuals with anxiety and fear in the past 5 years, and see that it's more than doubled. We have over 20% of the U.S. population with an anxiety problem, an anxiety diagnosis. And if that's true, if we have 20%, let me tell you what, that means those 20% of people are most likely on medication. And those 20% of people are probably driving on the highways and byways and being on medication. I can tell you personally, being on medication, psychotropic or otherwise, can really mess you up in the long run and really mess up your driving skills. And we need to get a hold on this because it's disruptive to us. It's disruptive to your life. So let's get into it. So I want to play you a little short video about an individual who states he created, with the help of the government, the red light or the blue light technology. So I'm going to play this here for you. Pull this up. The blue light technology that's on the computers that creates the frequencies that elicit the emotions that they want you to have. So listen up to this.
Blue lit, the reason none of them are red lit, the reason none of them pay attention to circadian biology is because that original technology was developed in a government program that Bobby Kennedy knows about, and I happen to know about because I went to medical school at LSU. For those of you who've never heard about Operation Paperclip, you think it's all conspiracy theory. So at two-lane neurology and two-lane neurosurgery in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, the CIA started a program there where they would do all these crazy things to monkeys. CIA wanted to see how they could control things utilizing different things like drugs and things like that. Where the neurosurgeons got involved, which is my clade, we would drill tops of the heads off, put wires into the thalamus, put electricity in there, and kind of see what kind of behavioral changes we could have. One of the guys that was in that program was a guy named Professor Delgado. When he saw that we could control the behavior with the wired device, he said, what if we do it wirelessly? So he checked it in monkeys and checked it in bulls, and it turned out you can do it wirelessly with RFID chips and semiconductors. Then the CIA took it to the next level. They said, well, since this is electromagnetic radiation, what if we did it through light through screens? And it turns out you can. And that's the reason why all your computer screens have the frequencies they have. So why is this all important? Well, the person that set this meeting up between me and Bobby is the patent attorney that made sure that Google and Meta have those things so they can control the things that we all do. Where did the original idea come from that started off in MKUltra with the CIA? You're going to be surprised when you hear this. It came from the mafia in Las Vegas. They wanted to build a new city in a desert. They enclosed it all, blacked out the windows, invented slot machines that were blue lit, and they found out that they didn't have to take a gun, stick it in your face to steal your money. And they even got smart. They said, let's give people free alcohol while they're doing that. And they found out they got the money quicker. And that's when the CIA got the idea to start this program. That's really how it started.
So isn't that interesting that we have the conspiracy, but not really the conspiracy, that the mafia initiated this study to find out what light they should shine from their slots in order to elicit a more excitable response, a response that they wanted for you to spend more money. And then they also learned that giving you more alcohol would elicit more of that same loose behavior response. Now, the CIA took that and said, hey, if they're manipulating people to spend more money, what can we manipulate people to do? Can we manipulate them to have a happy-go-lucky lifestyle? If that was the fucking case, they would have done it. They didn't do that, though, did they? They didn't give us happy-go-lucky, feel-good mentality. We're more divided than ever. We're more angry than ever. We're more anxious than ever. Anxiety has risen from 2012 to 2025 and has doubled. It used to be 10%. Now it's 20%. Now you can argue that COVID had a little bit of problem, a little bit of effect on that. But I believe that COVID also was related to creating problems between countries to elicit either a weakened immune system or fear-based mentality. And because of that, China won, right? China won. They won a lot. And China created it. CIA has proven that now. So where do we stand with this technology? Well, let me let you listen in to this other gentleman who recently underwent a panic attack and went to the hospital and didn't know what the hell was going on with him. He just said, I got to go to the hospital. Let me figure out what's going on. So let me refresh this here. I should have the video, but for some reason it doesn't want to pop up. I don't know why. Okay, well, I'll have to tell you the story. So the story is that this gentleman went to the hospital because he was having a panic attack, and he's like, "What? I don't know what's going on. It feels like, even though I'm sitting in this chair, it feels like a lion is chasing me. That's what it feels like. A lion is chasing me." And the nurse is like, obviously there's no lion chasing you, but we're going to help try to calm you down. They gave him some medication. And he said this came out of nowhere in 2020. You know where my anxiety came out of nowhere in? 2019. You know where a lot of other people's anxiety came out in? 2019 to 2020 to 2021, 2022. That 3-year time span. I know you could say it was COVID, but mine personally didn't have anything to do with COVID necessarily. I had my anxiety where I couldn't even drive anymore came around in May of 2019. And they say COVID didn't exist in 2019, right? But I believe that it did, although I don't know if it existed back in May of 2019. There's proof that it existed in October and September of 2019 due to the blood tests that they collected at Oxford University, and they tested them for antibodies to COVID. So they believe COVID existed before that. It's just that people started really getting sick after that. Maybe they released a more potent virus or version of it in December in China. I don't know. Anyway, the point of the matter here is that we have a problem with anxiety, a correlation between anxiety, computers, screens, and technology. How much are your children or you addicted to your phone and to your computer? How many of you feel like shit after you are on your computer all day, if you do that, which I do, and you can't even think straight anymore half the time? Have you ever seen what it looks like to look at a computer through your phone's camera? It looks insane. It's constantly flipping. That's the refresh rate. Some computers and television monitors have 60 hertz, where that's 60 frames per second, 60 FPS, right? Skip the hertz, sorry. FPS, 60 frames per second. Some have 120. So that means 120 times per second, your brain is perceiving flips. Even though it's minute, it's perceiving it. You can't see it, but it's perceiving it. And that's the same with your phone, too. So the question is, the more that we stay on these devices, does that mean the more we're going to be bombarded with this type of technology, which is what the government created to elicit possibly what the reptilians want, which is fear and anxiety and depression? Or are we going to get off of this shit? Are we going to go to detox farms, get detoxed off of this digital world that we're living in, and focus on ourselves, focus on our health, and get back to nature, get back to being one-on-one with our fellow man, instead of one-on-one on the computer screen, one-on-one in person, playing games. You know, the most fulfilling aspects of people's lives is when they are with each other in a comfortable environment, when they feel safe, when they're not talking through a television screen or a computer screen or a phone screen. Unfortunately, I see the addiction in all children addicted to their tablets. I see the addiction to humans on the phones, and it's causing more anxiety. It's causing more problems. So it's an information overload, number one. Number two, that frequency they're putting through with the blue light is causing more anxiety, causing more of these anxiety-inducing chemicals. Now, what's the reason people started really ramping up the anxiety in 2019 and 2020? Could the COVID virus have been a culprit? Of course it could have. Of course it could have increased it. Could the COVID virus have been initiated and elicited from alien species working with the Chinese? That's an interesting question. Coronavirus has always been around, but coronavirus hasn't been around in the fact that it was like killing a bunch of people. Could it have been that the aliens worked with the Chinese government or the Chinese people at Wuhan and said, hey, we can make this, we can kill off a bunch of people too, or we can seriously, maim your enemy. We are the enemy of China. China is the future enemy as well, according to many psychics. So if they can maim us, hurt us, cause fear in us, or even not kill you, but cause a physiological and mental reaction to the virus and lasting reactions to the virus in the fact of long COVID, then guess what? They won. They won. They achieved their goal. See, they don't have to kill us off. Not the reptilians anyway. They don't have to kill us off. They want to use us as batteries. So if they can manipulate our bodies in order to have that in a way that's secret, perfect for them, because guess what? There's many entities that are working against the reptilians, that don't want them to be here, that don't want them to have a negative influence, that are working against them. So maybe they figured, well, we can't utilize our old methods of slavery and methodologies of enslaving people to being fearful. Now we have to resort to a disease. And so if we do that, guess what? We can still benefit, and they'll never know. The Galactic Federation that's trying to stop us will never know. So they can create a virus. It's just a theory, but I think it's a good theory. Now, all of this is leading up to this point in time, this point in history, where we have a seriously divided America. We have a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. And I think that's true around the world. We have a lot of economical issues going on. People's finances are going out the window. We have AI and robots coming in that are going to take people's jobs. And how are we going to be able to adjust to that? There's a lot of fear going on, and it almost seems like everything's just kind of continually being manipulated for fear to be at the forefront of ease and accessibility for these reptilians. And you might call me crazy, you might call me wild, you might call me insane, whatever. But I think in my experience, my anxiety came out of nowhere, and I couldn't even breathe. And it took medication for me to even be able to calm down every day. And the medication helps, but it's medication. It's a fake. It's a fake solution. If we're all frequencies, if we're all working on our own mental, spiritual frequencies, how we operate as a being, we can raise our frequencies by meditation and prayer, of course, and other spiritual practices. But most people are stuck in the 9 to 5, and they don't have time for that shit. So we resort to the medication. So how do we win, right? Let's wrap this up. How do we win this war? Well, I'll tell you how we win the war. We figure out a way to get off of the screens, number one. Number two, if we're going to, have our own communication system, we can't be using screens. Got to use something else, because the screens are really screwing up our brains. They're just screwing up our brains. They've been doing it ever since televisions came out. They're probably causing cancers we don't even know about as well. We know they cause brain cancers because people were holding up their phones to their ears all the time. I don't do that at all. I always talk on speaker. But I think that we got to figure out a communication method that's not screens, whether it's going back to pen and paper, whether it's radio signal, whether it's something else. We got to figure out a way to detox off of this stuff too, and to get our children to not be intoxicated on this stuff. We got to figure out a way to get back to one-to-one nature with ourselves in a peaceful manner. We got to come together. We got to meditate. We got to focus our energy on positivity, healing ourselves, healing each other. That's key. And once we have control over our emotions and our emotional regulation, then we might be able to really focus on how to battle this alien presence that wants to just devour us, eat us. I mean, let's face it. Look at cows. I mean, if you want to call me crazy, fine. But look at cows for a second. This is a real thing, real cows. What are we doing with dairy cows? We are milking the life out of them so that we can drink it. We're doing that. So if we're doing that in a real sense, how come the reptilians couldn't be doing that in a real sense too? And though what happens to the cow? Gets milked and milked and milked and milked and milked till it can't milk no more. And then sayonara. And then a new dairy cow comes in and they milk and milk and milk that. They don't want to kill that cow. They want to milk it. And they want to be as effective as possible, right? So they feed it what? Crap to its system that fucks up its system. Steroids and all kinds of things. Screws up its system. Antibiotics. Screws up its system. As long as it produces the milk, that's what matters. So, I guess we're the milk producers for the reptilians, but we got to figure out a way to fight back. So, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I know I'm crazy, but you know what? The world is crazy, and I know that this stuff is real. If alien abductions are real and these other whistleblowers are being honest, if you take that at face value, then you have to look further and say, well, what can we do about it? There might be some benevolent aliens out there, sure. But if the malevolent ones are stronger than the benevolent ones are, we have to figure out a way to fight back. We got to do it together, and we have to talk about it amongst our friends. In my small town, we have people that want to come together to talk about CE5s, close encounter 5s, and talk about future communications with alien engagement. I mean, that's not even me. That's somebody else totally. I don't even know. Started to create that. I'm going to go check it out. I think it's really interesting, and I'm excited. So anyway, Take care of yourselves. Physically, spiritually, mentally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams, whatever they may be. Painting, drawing, recording podcasts, whatever makes you happy. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. There's so much to question. There's so much information out there. It comes out every day. Take care of yourselves, guys. I love you. Lockdown Universe out. Peace.